On today's episode of Before You Buy, we're going to take you for a ride with Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Let's get started.
I wanna take you for a ride. I wanna take you for a ride. I wanna take you for...
So, welcome back for another episode of Before You Buy, the show where we summarize all the details you need to know about a new cab before its official release. And today's subject is the recent 2022 EVO reveal of Marvel vs. Capcom 2, the first of three major GameFly leaks. So let's go ahead and get into the details. In a rather unsurprising move, MVC2 will be in the 2022 Legacy fighter design that we've gotten with MK30th, Joust, and Capcom Live Legacy editions. As a result, the biggest takeaway from this cab will be the exclusive art inspired by the PlayStation 2 cover. Although, it does have black T-molding for now. Of course, this is a two-player cab that really doesn't mean much on its own, but it will have the staples of 2022 Legacy so far. A marquee that can be changed at user discretion, the foul coin doors that people have come to expect, the new splitting side panel design that puts it on the same height as the other cabs, and finally, the return of the 17-inch BOE monitor, although it seems like that monitor has also been in the Miss Pac-Man Legacy and the Capcom Live Legacies, but whatever. In closing, this cab looks really cool, and while some people would have preferred the big blue design, this is probably more cost-effective in the long term. In a rather strange move for this cabinet, the only new game here is Marvel vs. Capcom 2 itself. However, you have roughly 7 returning games on this cabinet, and those come in the form of Marvel vs. Capcom, Marvel Superheroes, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, X-Men Children of the Atom, X-Men Mutant Apocalypse, and Marvel Superheroes in War of the Gems. So this really isn't that much of a surprise on its own, as well, if they're going to do a Legacy edition of the Marvel cabinet, this is probably the best way for them to do it. Now, of course, the Punisher will not be on this cabinet. However, if you're willing to look for the Countercade or the head-to-head, I believe the game is on those, so you can look into that if you wish. This is purely a convention cab, as far as I can tell, so really, I suppose this game list does make quite a bit of sense. But we won't be seeing stuff like Marvel vs. Capcom 3 for quite a while, so don't ask. Oh hey, we have an HD Live logo now. Anyway, like the Live Legacy editions, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is going to have the standard online leaderboards that we have all come to expect from the 2022 releases, in addition to online multiplayer with crossplay to previous live cabs, such as Marvel vs. Capcom and X-Men vs. Street Fighter. The only game that won't be crossplay compatible is the marquee game itself, as there really aren't any other cabs with Marvel vs. Capcom 2 yet. Otherwise, you're looking at an excellent showing from Arcade1up across the board if everything's on track. So what about the price? While the GameFly leaks more or less settled this matter, I hoped that we would get a second opinion from Arcade1up directly, and for once they actually delivered. They confirmed the $600 price tag on their show, that they literally just launched a couple of days ago by the time you're seeing this, for the 8 games you're getting along with the exclusive art, online multiplayer, because duh, and some other things like having all the characters unlocked out of the gate. Honestly, $600 is more than justified for this title, as Naomi couldn't have been an easy emulation process at all. Thankfully, Arcade1up has been a little more transparent with their release window in regards to actually giving us a pre-order, and in this case, it is September 8th, 2022 from Arcade1up Direct. They have also been running a program with the newly established official show that may see an earlier undocumented period for pre-orders to those who apply. Now, of course, I doubt there will be a price difference between the exclusive window, if they're doing one, and the standard window on the 8th, so please make your decision accordingly. Fun fact, Mr. Fantastic, Doctor Strange, and Silver Surfer were all considered for the game, but were dropped for various reasons. Doctor Strange because it was felt that he'd be too similar to Doctor Doom, Silver Surfer because it was hard to adapt his board and high-speed movements to a fighting game, and Mr. Fantastic because capturing his stretchiness with hand-drawn sprites would have been difficult and time-consuming. Doctor Strange himself would eventually join the series in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, while Mr. Fantastic's stretching abilities were represented through the inclusion of Super Scroll. Arcade1up's newest fighter is certainly one of the biggest deals to happen to Marvel in years in terms of fighting games, but Arcade1up is treating this like Golden Axe Revenge of Death Adder in the sense that this is the only way of getting the game without piracy or destroying your bank account. While I don't really care for that idea, it's better than the game not really getting a shot at all and just falling into deep obscurity. Regardless, what do you think of this cab? Will you be picking it up? Would you go out of your way to buy a cab with one new game if it meant you could do away with 2 or 3 more? Leave your thoughts below and let's get this discussion going. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time for our next top 3 about House of the Dead. Have a good one.